Britain said Monday it will do away with its extradition treaty with the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. The decision comes amid a growing divide between China and the UK, with UK's Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab saying the treaty will not be reinstated unless, quote, clear and robust safeguards are made by China. Coming less than a week after the UK decided to ban Huawei from its 5G networks, are these two decisions connected? And what does that mean for UK-China relations, including for the business communities? Joining me are Hongjian, Director of European Studies at China's Institute of International Studies. From Leeds, UK, via Skype, Paul Bagguley from the School of Sociology and Social Policy at the University of Leeds. And on the phone, Steve Lynch, Managing Director of the British Chamber of Commerce in China. Welcome to all of you. First, let's take a look at what Raab said on Monday.
We would not consider reactivating those arrangements unless and until there are clear and robust safeguards which are able to prevent extradition from the UK being misused under the new national security legislation.
So,
Mr. Speaker, there remains considerable uncertainty about the way in which the new national security law will be enforced. I would just say this: the United Kingdom is watching and the whole world is watching.
So let's go to the specifics. Welcome, gentlemen, first of all, to the show. Mr. Cui, can you help us understand what was in the Hong Kong extradition agreement with the UK, and how many countries and regions in general does Hong Kong have this kind of judicial cooperation agreements?
As we know, according to the Hong Kong specific administration basic law, and authorized and agreed by the central government of China, indeed, Hong Kong administration government could have some judicial cooperation with other countries, including UK and some mostly European countries, and also United States and Canada and Australia and so on. So far we can find out, yes, it should kind of judicial, independence indeed for Hong Kong, and also it showed that Chinese confidence that to keep Hong Kong as a international center and international city, to keep the regular cooperation with other countries. But in practice, and according to the statistics, even between Hong Kong and the UK, every year the number of the cases in practice by this extradition treaty was very, very limited.
I understand altogether it's less than 100 that have been extradited between Hong Kong and other regions and countries that it has this extradition agreement. Mr. Bagguley, by revoking this treaty, this agreement, what specifically is the UK worried about? Are such worries warranted?
Specifically, I think the UK is worried about the kind of attack, as it sees it, on human rights in Hong Kong. And so what it's concerned about is that if people come from Hong Kong to the UK and are wanted in Hong Kong for any national security offences, then they will be easily extradited back to Hong Kong for prosecution and imprisonment. I think that's the legal status of what they are arguing, but I think behind it is a broader political agenda, which aligns with the situation, the view, the strategy from the USA as well. So we do have this situation where the US has been trying to persuade the UK to take a much harder line with China on a whole range of issues. So I think we have to see it in that context as well.
The UK has also announced favourable policies for people in Hong Kong to migrate to the UK. Is there a legal basis for such policies? Because China has responded by saying what the UK has basically recently said or done is a serious violation of international laws and basic norms of international relations, and a gross interference in China's internal affairs. So what's the legal basis for the UK's policy on the migration part? And realistically, how many people in Hong Kong do you think will take up the UK's offer, Mr. Bagguley?
Realistically, I don't think many people will take it up. It's a big decision moving from Hong Kong to the UK without any job waiting for you in the UK. The legal basis would probably be to appeal back to Hong Kong's original status as a colony of the UK. So a lot of migration to the UK in the post-war period came not just from Hong Kong, but from other current and former British colonies, for example, in the West Indies and India and Pakistan and Bangladesh. So Britain does have this kind of tradition almost of migration from former colonies. So it's really, I think, building on that, but it would require primary legislation to make Hong Kong an exceptional case. And it'd be quite interesting to see how they might do that.
Right. Let me go to Mr. Lynch. This question is not specifically about commerce, but all of a sudden we're seeing that the UK is treating Hong Kong as some kind of a favorite child. But for a lot of people here, both on the mainland and in Hong Kong, it's peculiar because for most of the 150 years it ruled Hong Kong, it gave the local people very few political rights.
Yeah, I mean, well, so firstly, thank you very much for having me on the show today. I think this is a great opportunity to have a very open and honest and robust conversation around China, specifically that's been needed in the UK. I think when we talk about the Hong Kong decision, I think that the UK decision concerning Hong Kong actually calls and reinforces the need for a more stable and transparent business environment. And I hope what's happening in Hong Kong doesn't cast a shadow between the UK and China bilateral relationship, or indeed the strong relations that we have both economically and through trade relations.
Well, Mr. Cui Hongjian, China has assured the world, not just the UK, that the new security law will not do away with the one country, two systems. Quite the opposite. China believes that it's going to reinforce that system. Help us understand the basis of Beijing's claim, and why has such explanation largely fallen on deaf ears in the West?
I think we need to understand what's the principle for this national security law in Hong Kong, and also the Chinese consideration about the current situation in Hong Kong. I think according to the principle of the national security law in Hong Kong, certainly the Chinese government tried to bring back the order to the Hong Kong society, because always it's in the principle of Chinese understanding that any society, including Hong Kong, once we get back order, certainly we can achieve development and even democracy itself. But of course, we understand now from the UK or some other countries, including this so-called extradition treaty, I mean this reaction from the UK side. It showed, I think, efforts from the UK and some other Western countries try to prove that there will be a kind of predicted fact, which means that yes, we will have this reaction to the national security law of China in Hong Kong, and to some degree to squeeze China to do something wrong in Hong Kong. So I think now certainly there will be some more gaming between China and some other countries around the Hong Kong issue in future.
Okay. Mr. Lynch, I'm very curious about what's going to happen to the golden era prospects that were very much on the lips of everybody a couple of years ago. Has that totally died out, first of all? And secondly, how are British businesses looking at the whole thing, especially British businesses in Hong Kong? What's their sentiment?
So I think now is absolutely the right time to be having an open debate around China, specifically from back in the UK, and I think we need to push for more constructive bilateral engagement. There's no denying this is certainly challenging times for the UK and China, but I think this is a time for informed voices to be heard equally. And I would actually say this is quite disappointing from the UK to see the lack of objectivity from current stakeholders. So I think if we look towards the golden era, and your point on the golden era, and I would say what defines the golden era? 5 years ago, when David Cameron made that statement, we've actually seen year-on-year trade growth. We've seen more political engagement. We've seen 2 Prime Minister's visits in 3 years to China, increasing Secretaries of State visits. So when we look at the bilateral trade figures, that grew 18% last year to £80 billion sterling. If we include Hong Kong, trade exceeds £104 billion sterling. So I think London and Beijing care very deeply about the economic and political relationship. And I think just, one final point to make there. Of course, there's absolutely going to be differences between our two governments and our two countries, but this is a time to approach these conversations with informed and proactive engagement.
Okay. Mr. Bagguley, however, the conversation seems to be very difficult because of the United States in the middle. Pompeo just talked, he's in London, and he says the Chinese Communist Party represents the central threat about times. So what is the UK going to do, given the political pressure from the United States? 20 seconds, please.
I think in the short run, the UK will still keep this very hostile attitude towards China. But I think when there is very probably a change of president in the US, I think that the situation will change quite radically. I think there'll be more of a dialogue approach taken from the US, and then that pressure from the US will disappear. But there are some specific features of the British relationship with Hong Kong which won't go away.
Well, we hope things could improve between all sides. Many thanks to Hongjian and Mr. Paul Bagguley and Steve Lynch joining us from different parts of the world. Many thanks to you as well for having followed us on this edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter using the handle The Point with LX. Thanks for watching. You've got The Point.